My parents left me alone in Paris. No money, no phone, no visa, just a note saying, "This is the punishment for turning your back on family." They punished me for refusing to lend their favored child $100,000. 3 years later, they returned asking to see my son. What my wife said next left them stunned. "Hey, Reddit, Paris was supposed to be a gift." That's what my mother said when she suggested the trip. Her voice light and cheerful, as if the past few months hadn't been filled with enough tension to choke on. She called it a fresh start, a family reset. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think that the argument we had, the one that left me shaken and sleepless, could be smoothed over with plane tickets and sightseeing. I didn't realize Paris wouldn't be a reset. It would be a punishment. The request came on an ordinary Sunday afternoon. There were no raised voices, no dramatic build-up, just coffee on the table and my parents sitting too close together. My father spoke first. "Your brother needs help." I already knew what that meant. My younger brother, the favored child, had always needed help. Help cleaning up his mistakes, avoiding consequences, being rescued before reality could touch him. My mother reached for my hand. "It's temporary," she said quickly, "just until things stabilize." I asked the question they hated. "How much?" They didn't answer right away. That pause told me everything. $100,000. My dad finally replied. The number felt unreal, not because I didn't have savings, but because they said it like it was nothing, like it was already mine to give. "I can't do that," I said slowly. The room shifted. My mother's smile faded, and my father's jaw tightened. "You can," my dad corrected. "You just don't want to." "I have a family," I replied. "I have responsibilities." My mom leaned in. "And he doesn't." There it was. The unspoken rule finally said aloud. His needs would always come before mine. "I'm saying no," I declared, "and I need you to respect that." They didn't argue or push. They just withdrew, which was worse. For weeks they were polite, too polite. Calls became shorter, texts colder. When I brought it up, my mother brushed it off. "We're fine," she said. "Why wouldn't we be?" But I felt it. That invisible line where love becomes conditional, where support turns into a ledger. The idea struck suddenly. "Let's go to Paris together," my mother suggested one evening. All of us. No stress, no drama. My instinct screamed to say no, but old habits die hard. I wanted my parents back. I wanted normalcy. I wanted to believe that love didn't come with punishment. So I agreed. I paid my share, booked my flight, and packed carefully, unaware I was packing for abandonment. Paris was beautiful. Cobblestone streets, morning cafes, soft sunlight spilling between buildings. For 2 days, everything felt almost okay. My parents laughed, we took photos, and they acted like nothing was wrong, which should have terrified me. On the third morning, we planned to split up. They wanted to shop. I wanted to visit a museum. We met in the hotel lobby. My dad hugged me tightly, too tightly. My mom kissed my cheek. "Don't forget your purse," she said casually. I laughed. "I won't." They walked out. I lingered, tying my shoe. When I reached for my purse, it wasn't there. I rushed back upstairs. My suitcase was open. My phone, wallet, and passport were all gone. On the desk sat a single folded note. My hand shook as I opened it. "This is the punishment for turning your back on family. You'll learn what it means to be alone." I read it twice, 3 times. My vision blurred. This was impulsive. It was planned. I ran back to the lobby. The receptionist checked the system. "They've checked out," she said gently. No forwarding address, no messages, just gone. I stood there in a foreign country with nothing but the clothes on my back. For the first time in my life, I realized something terrifying. My parents didn't just disagree with me. They wanted to break me. I slept sitting upright in a chair, too afraid to close my eyes, too ashamed to cry in public. Every sound startled me. Each minute felt longer than the last. I replayed the argument about money over and over. This wasn't about $100,000. It was about obedience. It took days, visiting the embassy, emergency documents, borrowed kindness. A woman I'd never met bought me food. An official stayed late, to help me fill out paperwork. Strangers treated me with more care than my parents ever had. That realization hurt more than the abandonment itself. When I finally boarded the plane home, I was relieved. I was resolute. Something inside me had shut a door. I didn't yet know what would happen next, but I knew one thing. I would never beg them again. 3 years later, after they abandoned me in a foreign country with nothing, my parents returned, this time asking to see my son. They thought time would erase what they did. They were wrong. For a long time after Paris, I didn't talk about it, not because it didn't matter, but because I didn't trust myself to say it out loud without breaking. People assume abandonment is loud, screaming, slamming doors, dramatic final words. But real abandonment is quiet. It's waking up and realizing the people who were supposed to protect you made a calculated decision to leave you helpless, and then went on with their lives. I didn't call my parents. They didn't call me. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into years. At first, I wondered if they felt guilty. Then I realized something colder. They thought I'd come back, apologize, admit I was wrong, and hand over the money. When I didn't, their silence became a punishment of its own. I rebuilt everything without their help. I worked harder, saved carefully, and learned to rely on myself completely. I met my wife during that time. She didn't know my parents at first. She only knew the version of me who flinched when family was mentioned. When I told her about Paris, she didn't interrupt. She just listened. And when I finished, she said something simple. That wasn't discipline. That was cruelty. Hearing someone else name it made the truth impossible to ignore. Our son was born 2 years later. Holding him for the first time, I understood something with terrifying clarity. I would burn the world down before I let anyone do to him what my parents did to me. I didn't tell my parents. They didn't deserve access to something so precious. 3 years after Paris, on an ordinary afternoon, there was a knock at the door. I knew before I opened it. Some instincts never fade. My parents stood there, smiling, older, acting like time had softened everything. My mother stepped forward. We just wanted to see our grandson. No apology, no acknowledgement, just entitlement. I didn't invite them in. My father frowned. Don't be like this, he said. We're family. That word again, family. The same word they used to justify abandoning me without money, phone, or documents in a foreign country. You lost the right to that word, I said quietly. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We were trying to teach you a lesson. My wife stepped forward, grounded and unwavering. What lesson? She asked. My parents looked at her with surprise. My father said simply, You don't turn your back on family. My wife didn't raise her voice. She spoke with clarity that cut deeper than anger. Family doesn't abandon someone in another country to punish them. Silence. And family doesn't get access to a child when they've shown they're willing to weaponize love. My mother gasped, You can't keep our grandson from us. My wife looked at her steadily. We can and we are. I finally spoke again. You don't get to skip the harm and show up for the reward. My father scoffed. So that's it? After everything we did for you? I nodded. Yes. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. And he was right. The version of me who needed his approval had died in Paris. My mother whispered, We just want to be grandparents. My wife answered gently but firmly, You should have wanted to be parents first. That was the moment. They understood this wasn't negotiation. They didn't scream or beg. They left quietly. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. When our son got older, he asked about them. Why don't we see your parents? I knelt in front of him. Because they hurt me, I said honestly. And our job as parents is to keep you safe. He thought about that and then nodded. Okay. No fear, no confusion, just trust. We build our own traditions. Holidays without tension. Trips without punishment. Love without conditions. Sometimes I reflect on Paris, not with anger but with gratitude. That was the moment I learned who my parents truly were and who I refused to become. They thought abandoning me would teach obedience. Instead, it taught me independence. And when they returned asking for access to my child, they learned a lesson they never expected. Love without accountability doesn't get passed down to the next generation.